Hello friends. In our previous session, we have examined the Heckscher-Ohlin theory or factor endowment approach in a bit detail. Today, we are going to analyze the empirical test of the theory. We will present the results of the first empirical study conducted by Vasily Leontief, and will also explore the case of factor intensity reversal, which, if prevalent, would invalidate the findings of Heckscher-Ohlin theory. Welcome to the session. As I said, the first empirical attempt to empirically verify the validity of Heckscher-Ohlin theory was conducted by Vasily W. Leontief. He used US trade data of 1947, and the result was published in the year 1951, entitled Domestic Production and Foreign Trade, the American Capital Position Re-examined. In this famous work, he verified the factor intensity of US export as well as import. So, the year used for the study was that of 1947, and the trade data of United States was used. But since in that year of 1947, since US data on import was not available, he used the export data as well as data on import substitutes. So, the data used for the Leontief study was that of United States export as well as data on import substitutes. He used his own invention or his own contribution to economics, namely input-output analysis, to verify the capital labor ratio in export and import of United States. Now, what are the results? We know that Heckscher-Ohlin model predicts, or Heckscher-Ohlin model believes that a country will try to specialize or will be specializing in the production and export of those commodities which intensively utilizes the factor with which the country is relatively well endowed. So, US being a capital rich country is expected to export capital intensive commodities and expected to import labor intensive commodities. But when Leontief with his 1947 data tried to verify the factor intensity of US export as well as import substitutes, he found that US import substitutes were 30% more capital intensive, 30% more capital intensive than that of US export. In other words, US is exporting labor intensive commodities and importing capital intensive commodities, exact opposite of the Heckscher-Ohlin prediction. We know that being a capital abundant country, if the Heckscher-Ohlin prediction are true, then this country, which is believed to be a capital abundant country, should be exporting capital intensive commodities and should be importing labor intensive commodities, but exact opposite has happened. That's why we call this as a paradox. What is a paradox? Paradox is something that goes against the theory, that is generally against the general expectation. Now we have a case where US, which is expected to export capital intensive commodities, is exporting in fact labor intensive commodities. That's why Leontief in his own work called the results as startling. Now, the question is, what are the reasons behind this paradox? Leontief himself has provided two reasons for the paradox. Now, let us examine the reasons for the paradox. We will analyze Leontief's own explanation. In fact, he has provided the case of two. One argument, as far as Leontief is concerned, is that in the year 1947, the year which Leontief used for his study, US labor was 3 times more productive than that of laborers in the foreign country. That is, productivity of US labor is higher, and it is in fact 3 times higher. So you have to multiply US labor force with 3 when you calculate the factor endowment of US. If you multiply US labor force with 3, then US will become a labor abundant country, not a capital abundant country. A labor abundant country is exporting labor intensive commodities. There is no paradox. That's the first explanation provided by Leontief himself. That is, in the year 1947, US labor is 3 times more productive. Now, this argument was severely criticized by other economists, because how this number 3 was arrived was not explained by Leontief. In fact, later Leontief himself withdrawn his own explanation as far as productivity is concerned. The second argument is more plausible in the sense that Leontief argues that being a rich country, the taste and preferences of US citizens are highly biased in favor of capital intensive commodities. That is, in this country, there is large domestic demand for capital intensive commodities, resulting in higher relative prices. So, this country is unable to export, even though it might be producing a lot. Since there is large domestic demand, this American economy is unable to export capital intensive commodities. The second reason for the paradox. These 2 reasons are provided by Leontief himself. So, for his paradox, Leontief himself has provided 2 reasons. Now, we will examine some of the other reasons, because 2 explanations provided by Leontief was not generally accepted by other economists. So, there are certain other reasons. Now, the first reason is again with respect to 1947. The year which Leontief used for his study was 1947, and this year is too close to the Second World War to be representative. That is, the 1947 is not a correct year, is not an appropriate year for an analysis of export and import data, because it is too close to the Second World War. But this argument by the economist was later challenged by Leontief himself, because Leontief has repeated his study using the US trade data of 1951. Even in that study, he found that US exports were 6 times more labor intensive, or 6% more labor intensive than that of US import. So, even though there has been a reduction in the paradox, it has not been completely eliminated. That's the argument as far as other economists is concerned. So, the first argument is that 1947 is not an appropriate year. Second reason for the paradox is that Leontief used a 2-factor model, namely capital labor. That means he classified commodities either as capital intensive or as labor intensive using capital labor ratio. But you cannot have a watertight compartment in which all the commodities are either treated as labor intensive or can be treated as a capital intensive. There may be certain commodities which may be natural resource intensive. So, you cannot uniquely classify commodities as labor intensive and capital intensive. This may be one reason for the paradox. The third reason is the results of Leontief might be affected by the tariff and other disturbances of international trade. Because Kravis, for example, in the year 1956 has pointed out that in US, labor intensive industries are heavily protected. So, there will not be an import of labor intensive commodities because there are strong tariff walls imposed in the domestic economy itself. So, the influences of tariff and non-tariff barriers might have resulted in the paradox. Maybe the last reason, but perhaps the strongest reason for the Leontief paradox is that in the definition of capital, Leontief used only the physical capital and ignored human capital. But when you incorporate human capital into the meaning of capital, then US may be exporting capital intensive commodities. There will not be any paradox. So these are the reasons for the Leontief paradox. Once more, what is the paradox? Heckscher-Ohlin theory says that a capital-rich country will be exporting capital-intensive commodities and importing labor-intensive commodities. Leontief empirically tried to verify the validity of the model using the US trade data of 1947. He used US export data as well as US data on import substitutes, and he found that US import substitutes were 30% more capital intensive than that of export. That is, US is exporting labor intensive commodities and importing capital intensive commodities, and this is the paradox, opposite of the Heckscher-Ohlin model. Leontief himself provided two reasons. One, the first reason is that US labor is 3 times more productive. So if you multiply US labor with force, labor force with 3, US will become a labor rich country. There is no paradox. The second reason is that the taste and preferences of US citizens are highly biased in favor of capital intensive commodities, so this country may not be in a position to export. But these two explanations are not generally accepted by other economists. There are certain other explanations. One, the year 1947, which the Leontief used for the study, was not an appropriate year for the analysis. The second one is Leontief used only 2 factors, capital and labor, thus abstracting from all other factors. So it may not be a proper analysis. You cannot classify all the commodities as capital intensive and labor intensive. The third one, the Leontief paradox and the analysis of Leontief might have been affected by the influences of tariff and other barriers of the trade, because US used to impose a lot of restriction on the import of the labor intensive commodities. And finally, Leontief in his definition of capital used only physical capital and ignored human capital. If human capital was incorporated into the study, the paradox might not have existed. So in a sense, the analysis of Leontief and the so-called Leontief paradox is not a strong reason to reject our Heckscher-Ohlin model. And the more confusions and more issues will be raised when we have the situation of factor intensity reversal. Now let us examine the case of factor intensity reversal and its implication for the Heckscher-Ohlin theory. From our analysis of Heckscher-Ohlin theory, we have seen that in Heckscher-Ohlin, the trade pattern was determined by factor intensities and factor endowment. But changes in these two aspects are possible, which can substantially influence the pattern and direction of trade. And we are going to examine one particular case when there are changes in the factor intensity. One of the crucial assumptions of the Heckscher-Ohlin model is that production functions are different for 2 commodities but identical in 2 countries. What is the meaning of that? Production functions are different for 2 commodities. Hope you remember, we have 2 commodities, commodity X and commodity Y. Production functions are different because commodity X requires a labor intensive production process, commodity Y requires a capital intensive production process. So production functions are different but identical in 2 countries, in the sense that commodity X is a labor intensive commodity in both country 1 as well as country 2. Commodity Y is a capital intensive commodity in both country 1 as well as country 2. But when this is reversed, that is, when commodity X is labor intensive in the labor abundant country and capital intensive in the capital abundant country, there will be reversal of factor intensity. This is the meaning of factor intensity. When one commodity is labor intensive in the labor abundant country and capital intensive in the capital abundant country. Let us say, for example, commodity X. If the commodity X is labor intensive in the country 1, we saw that it was a labor rich country, and since if the commodity X is capital intensive in country 2, then both countries will produce same commodity X. That is, both countries will have an X which is a homogeneous good. So there is a reversal and the Heckscher-Ohlin theorem will remain invalid because both countries will have commodity X, a homogeneous commodity. They will be unable to trade. There is no possibility of an exchange because both have commodity X. This is the factor intensity reversal. When one commodity, in our case, for example, commodity X, it is labor intensive in the labor abundant country. There is a reversal in the sense that same commodity becomes capital intensive in the capital abundant country. We have factor intensity reversal. Now, how it is possible? One of the ways, or in fact there are two ways to explain the factor intensity reversal. One is you can use, or we can use the coefficient of elasticity of substitution. Elasticity of substitution is nothing but the degree at which, or the ease by which you can substitute one factor for other in the production of both commodities. If the degree or if the elasticity of substitution, the value of elasticity substitution is substantially different between two countries and it is higher, for example, in the case of commodity X. Let us suppose that, or let us assume that the value or the coefficient of the elasticity of substitution of factors of production is much higher in the case of commodity X than that of commodity Y. Then what will happen? Country 1 will obviously use labor for the production of commodity X. But country 2, since substitution is possible in the case of commodity X, they will use more of capital for the production of commodity X. So both countries will use their abundant factor because substitution is possible. The elasticity of substitution value is higher and it is different between two commodities and it is much higher in the case of commodity X. Both countries will have commodity X with them. This is a one way of explanation, that is by using the value of the coefficient of the elasticity of substitution of factors of production for the production of two commodities, commodity X and commodity Y. The second explanation or second method through by we can explain the issue of factor intensity reversal is by using isochrones or the production isochrones. We have two commodities, commodity X and commodity Y, and obviously we will have two isochrones. Now, let us analyze this particular case. We have two axes. Let us say we will measure capital here. We will measure labor here. Now, let us assume that these two parallel lines P0, P0 represents the factor price ratios in country 2, which was a capital abundant country. And let us say these two parallel lines, say will be here, P1, P1 represents the factor price ratios in the labor abundant country, country 1. So we have factor price ratios of country 2, which was a capital abundant country, factor price ratios of country 1 represented by parallel lines P1 and P1, which was for country 1, which was assumed to be a labor abundant country. Now let us introduce the isochrones, isochrone of commodity X as well as commodity Y. Now let us have that of commodity X. Let this be that of commodity X. Now let us introduce that of commodity Y. You can see a case where these isochrones, this is that of commodity Y, intersect with each other at 2 points. Let us say this point is point A and this is the point B. That is, isochrones intersects more than once. Twice, in fact, in our case, at point A as well as at point B. When the production isochrones of two commodities intersects more than once, there will be the prevalence of factor intensity reversal. How? Let us examine the case. For example, this is that of Y. In the case of country 2, which is a capital rich country, capital abundant country, now will specialize, let us say, for the production of commodity X and Y. For the production of commodity X and Y, country 2 requires for the production of same capital, this is capital, same capital, but for the production of X, it requires only less labor compared to that of Y. So, country 2 country 2 will specialize in the production of commodity X. I think you got the point. That is, for the production of X and Y, country 2 requires same quantity of capital. But for the production of X, it requires only less labor. So, the preference of country 2 will be for the production of commodity X. That is as far as country 2, which was in our case a capital rich, capital abundant country. Now, let us analyze the case of country 1, which was the labor abundant country. Now, this is the case of labor abundant country. Let us say, for the production of X and Y, country 1 needs same quantity of labor. But for the production of X, it requires only less quantity of capital. But for the production of Y, it requires more quantity of capital. So, country 1 will also specialize on the production of commodity X. This is the factor intensity reversal. Both countries will have same commodity at their disposal. Both have, in our example, commodity X. So, when this is the case, factor intensity reversal, one commodity is labor intensive in the labor abundant country, capital intensive in the capital abundant country. Both countries will produce the same commodity. There is no possibility of exchange. The Heckscher-Ohlin argument remains invalid. Serious issue as far as Heckscher-Ohlin model is concerned. The conclusions remains invalid. So obviously the question is that whether factor intensity reversal is in fact prevalent in the world. One of the first attempt was conducted by Minhas, and Minhas found that factor intensity reversal is in fact prevalent in the world. Later, Leontief in the year 1964, it was 1962 was the study of the Minhas, and Minhas found that it is fairly prevalent and it poses a number of limitations to the Heckscher-Ohlin model. But in the year 1964, Leontief found that the factor intensity reversal is not very prevalent, it's not very common. The same result was provided by later in the year 1966 by Ball. So two studies, that of Leontief as well as Ball, found that this issue of factor intensity reversal is not a very serious, it's not a very common issue, it's not a very common pattern. You cannot observe the factor intensity reversal in the actual world according to the studies, empirical studies of Leontief and Ball is concerned, even though Minhas got the different results. So, we come to the end of the empirical test of the Heckscher-Ohlin model. We started with the Leontief paradox, which was a specific case of United States in which Leontief found that a capital rich country US is exporting labor intensive commodities and importing capital intensive commodities. We saw a number of reasons for the paradox as well, Leontief's own explanation and other explanation. Then we come up to the case of more serious issue. It should be said that of the factor intensity reversal, when one commodity is labor intensive in the labor abundant country and capital intensive in the capital abundant country, can be explained through either with the value of the degree of the elasticity of substitution of the factors of production or through the isocont approach. Hope that this session is useful to you. You can always visit our blog www.skpeco.blogspot.in for additional learning resources. So until we meet next time, stay safe, happy learning. Thank you.